So he goes on to tell us about the different powers that they had there, and my bookmark seems to have fallen out, in the New Atlantis, in this wondrous world that was hidden off on an island, much like Atlantis is now. And I hate that my bookmark fell out of my book. I seem to be trying to do more than I can cover when I think I have it all together. So, he speaks of burials in several earths where they put divers of cement, and the Chinese do their porcelain. But they have it in a greater variety. They have high towers, the highest about 1/2 mile in height, and some of them likewise set upon high mountains, so that the vantage of the hill with the tower in its highest is of them 3 miles at best. Now this goes right along with Dubai and the dangers of Dubai. Dubai, of course, has Atlantis inside, and it's reported that, well, Dubai is a place that's just kind of falling apart, that as they tried to manufacture this in 3 weeks' time and get this entire city with the tallest building in the world created, along with the Atlantis resort with its multi-million-dollar extravaganza opening, and now we're finding that we're having shootings at Atlantis, and they're having to shut it down and run children out of there on weekends. We'll find that in Dubai that they don't have laws like we do on bankruptcy, and that if you actually go bankrupt in Dubai, it is a crime and you will be taken away. So it is very much a pretty trap. So they say they have lakes, both salt and fresh, much like America. And they have a number of artificial wells and fountains and hydroelectricity, it seems, because they talk of using sulfur, steel, brass, lead, niter, and other minerals. And amongst them they have the water, which they call the water of paradise, being by that, due to it, made very sovereign for health and prolongation of life. And it's amazing how much our English language has deteriorated since the time of writing of the New Atlantis. And they say they have great and spacious houses where they imitate and demonstrate meteors as snow, hail, rain, and some artificial rains of bodies and not of water, thunders, lightnings, and also generations of bodies of air as frogs, flies, and divers of others. So now we're talking about astronomical watching of telescopes using genetic modification on animals. We have also large various orchards where they do genetically modified food. They make divers of plants rise by mixtures of earths without seeds, and likewise to make divers new plants differing from the vulgar. So we're talking about genetic manipulation of plants. And as it turns out now, and you'll find on Red Eyes Creations, we no longer need humans to create sperm or eggs to create humans. They speak of having parks and enclosures of all sorts of beasts and birds, and they use these for their medicines and for dissections and trials. And with all of these plants and birds and particular foods that they have, they're able to generate some of the best medicine from all of the knowledge that they gather from around. And they have places for breed and generation of those kinds of worms and flies which are of special use, such as are with the silkworms or bees. So we could go on about the brew houses, bake houses, and kitchens, and all of the different drinks and wondrous foods that they had. And they have dispensaries and shops for medicine, where they can easily get all of their necessary pharmaceuticals. Mechanical arts, papers, linen, silks, and tissues, dainty works, and feathers, and amongst those are the finest. Furnaces of great diversity, for heats and metallurgy and all of the works. So when you realize that, and this being 1627, that there has been a knowledge of this ancient technology that has been carried forth throughout time through secret societies, where that's why you find all of the Masons making the greatest discoveries on planet Earth, because this knowledge has been there and is passed down through these libraries. We'll get to more of this on the other side. Just the free zone.
And political operations. preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no secret is revealed. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy.
Now, this man Solon that JFK is speaking about is the very Solon that was down speaking to the Athenians, or the Atlanteans, and looking upon two twin columns that were made of a metal, not of this earth, that outline the possible ways to run a society. Solon and Heron were a couple that brought technology advancements to humanity, and then Heron was one that used it against him. He would use his technological advancements and computer skills in ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and use these technological advancements, such as the steam engine, to cause great lies and deception. He would use these technological advancements so that the priest would come out, lay a fire in the pit, and this would cause the doors to open as if God existed inside of the building. And it is that way that they use to deceive all the masses into the church. So how close is reality to sci-fi? How much sci-fi is our reality? Now, of course, this month is the launch of CERN, the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. CERN's logo, of course, is 666, and they were the ones that came up with the World Wide Web. Now, it's curious that this they have come up with a new World Wide Web, which they call the grid. And if you want to keep up on CERN news, go over, and I wanted to ask you all if you could mind going and checking out Freeman's blog. Check out the freemanperspective.blogspot.com. I've made a lot of changes to it, and I want to know your opinion, if it's functional, if it works well, if you get to listen to everything and know what you're doing on board there. So drop over to Freeman's blog and let me know what you think, and of course you'll find all kinds of stuff there. The new super mega computer coming up is known as the Grid, and just on November 4th, they launched this Xeon Grid. And they come to say that this is going to amount to 160,000 cores. Now, that's 160,000 different computers or databases set up, all connected by dedicated fiber optic lines. And that this computer process will be pushing in real time through light somewhere around 100 million gigabytes per second. I was trying to find... They went from petabytes to zettabytes, and I had never even heard of such a thing. So the Grid now has this ability to generate holograms, has the ability to create a Hollywood play right in front of our very faces, and it's connected with the Large Hadron Collider. Now, of course, they were saying that the Hadron Collider would be stopped by time, that God would not allow this machine to find the God's particle, that time would come and cause problems. Well, it seems that just recently, and this was on the 5th of November when we were getting hit by a solar flare, which might also cause problems with CERN, a bird dropping a piece of bread onto the outdoor machinery has been blamed for a technical fault at CERN, at the Large Hadron Collider. Now remember that these Large Hadron Colliders are named Atlas, who is the king of Atlantis, and Alice, which is all about going through to the other side, which of course is the place that Aleister Crowley was talking about, as well as L. Ron Hubbard, Jack Parsons, and many Nazi scientists, of busting their way into the other side of the dimension. Of course, you can listen to my interview with the high priest of the Church of Satan, Rex Church, about his device to punch a hole into the other dimension. So CERN will launch this month, as long as no what they call birdie baguette bombers, dropping pieces of bread onto the outdoor machinery, which they say would have caused a catastrophic event and caused them to shut down the entire system. So if time or birds are going to shut this thing down, it's a very curious endeavor that we are dealing with here at CERN as they try to find what puts mass into particles, which is a very curious thing as well, as you're trying to find a way into another dimension. First you destroy matter, then you create it. But you'll find there at the blog, in my article on CERN, my picture of Stargate Atlantis, coupled coupled with the Obama administration, and you might be surprised at the correlation between Space Command and the Stargate characters. So in speaking with the ideas of science faction and our world as perhaps a little more sci-fi than what we expect, we can't go without talking about ABC or Disney's latest predictive programming we can call this remake of the 1980s episodes, which I watched as a child. And, of course, this was all about reptilians controlling planet Earth long before David Icke ever came to be. And I found it very curious that they announced the dawn of a new day, which goes back to the Golden Dawn, and it also goes to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, because the Book of the Dead, properly translated, if you were to translate the title properly, would actually be the dawn of a new day. So we have this ancient connection with that, and I found it curious that in the old V series, the lead woman was known as Diana. And we will find the connection between Athena and Diana in the story of Atlantis, which I skipped over. I meant to get to that. And instead of calling her Diana in this new series, she is now Anna. And that will bring me to some ideas on Anna Nicole and her coming trial, or Howard K. Stern's coming 6 counts of felony against Anna Nicole. And I want to flash back to a Radio Freeman back there with a little episode I called Got Trauma. That'll be coming up a little bit later. But so the choice of names is very curious, and the choice of storyline. Now, along with these other sci-fi stories that I have accompanying this are Firefly, which of course was done by Joss Whedon, who is famous for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or what is now known as Dolls, his latest show that has come out, which is all, of course, about mind-controlled slaves being used to your benefit. Now, Firefly, it was a good show, and it was yanked off the air. Just as Defying Gravity, I started watching that, another ABC Walt Disney predictive programming, which was a multinational film or TV series put together. It only lasted for 8 episodes, and they were really good, but there were actually 13 episodes put together. And you can watch them all online, but only 8 of them aired in America, and the rest aired in Canada. But this Defying Gravity gets into some very interesting correlations and connections to our reality, and it might be the reason they pulled it off. Of course, the last episode was about faking a solar flare. And if you're following all of my reports on these incoming meteoroids and bolides and how they went secret, and this one that hit over Indonesia and all of that, we'll get more and more into that as we talk about the space war in coming weeks. But looking at our sci-fi story, we see in both of these stories of Firefly and Defying Gravity, they're talking about the rise of the Chinese Empire and, of course, the passage of World War III already occurring. We'll pick this up on the other side and hopefully get Alex Ansary to talk. So how are we ever going to figure out what's going on planet Earth if we're afraid to broach the topic? If we're afraid to look perhaps even foolish by discussing ideas of UFOs, extraterrestrials, and the possible science faction of our lives? When we start to realize that there are levels beyond, that there is anti-gravity technology, that CERN is doing far more than just trying to find mass, and that these guys have an understanding of our universe that's beyond what we are given. We, as the profane, are kept in the dark. I felt great. I was just recently listening to some recent interviews of Michael Tessarian on Alex Jones, and that was a great one for me because I know that I'm making an impact. And when I listen to this interview and I hear Alex kind of stumbling over, well, the owl Lilith or Molech and I know that's all my fault. And, sorry, Alex, but, the very first words I said to Alex Jones was, the owl's not Molech, right? And so now he's had to revamp and try to recover, but they can't take it to that next step, which of course brings it to Sirius and takes it to Columba and Alpha Draconis and start to understand the extraterrestrial origins of civilization.